This is the day that the Lord has made, and we are rejoicing and we're glad in it. Today we're going to talk about wrongly accused. It is Jesus that shows us how we can be innocent and yet be accused of doing wrong, and how we can go through that process and allow ourselves not to be reactionary. Because oftentimes we want to be reactionary when people come at us and say that we're guilty, and we're saying, no, I'm not guilty. And Jesus shows us that we can go through this type of normative process, that when we are saints, people are going to think that they're coming and doing God's service. Like the high priest, the scribes, the Pharisees, the teacher of the laws. They actually thought that they were doing God's service when they were coming against Jesus and conspiring to do those things that the law forbid. Isn't it funny how we can turn a blind eye to our own criminal behavior, turn a blind eye to those things that are not ethical, and we think that we're doing God's service? We think that we're doing what is right. But here we see that that's exactly what they did. They conspired, they gathered, they assembled themselves to make Jesus guilty. They were going to try to make Jesus guilty. And we see that they really didn't understand the move of God, that they didn't understand what God was up to, that they saw the light, they saw the glory of God through Jesus, and they thought that it was something other than righteous. They thought that he was moving in another way outside of holiness. They thought that he was moving in a way of a blasphemer. The irony of calling the Son of God, calling God manifest in the flesh, calling the one who began everything. In the beginning, he began everything, and he's the one who's going to finish everything. And here they are, nothing more than dressed up dust, nothing more than people that he formed in the likeness of himself, formed in his image, formed to do those things that honor him the most. And here they are, saying that you're a blasphemer. And they were blasphemers. They were the ones who were the evil speakers. They were the ones who were speaking against God. They were the ones who were speaking against what God was actually doing. They were weaponizing themselves and being in a place that they were fighting against God. Could we be in that place at times in our lives that when Jesus doesn't do exactly what we want him to do, he doesn't say exactly what we want him to say, he doesn't act in the way that we actually want him to act, that we find ourselves gathering up wisdom of people who are seasoned, gathering up people who will have some type of authority, gathering up people who legally they know the word of God, and we fight against the will of God. The latter part of this talks about that when he said, yeah, you say that I'm the Son of God, 100% God, 100% man. You say that I'm the one that's going to come back and judge everybody. Yeah, you said that. They heard what they wanted to hear, the truth, and they rejected it. Say that with me. They rejected the truth. They were asking for the truth, and kind of reminded me of that motion picture that you can't handle the truth. When I give you the truth, you can't handle it. And here they could not handle it. And look at their reaction. They tore their clothing. They tore their reputation as high priests, even though the law said that they're not supposed to do that. And then they went the next step further. They became sarcastic. And in closing, when we become sarcastic, when we cut with our words because God is not revealing himself the way we want to, we sit in the seat of the accusation. We sit in the seat of the accuser. And we sit in that seat. And look what they did. They blinded him. They put something over his head. And they smote him open-handedly. They slapped him. And they spit on him. They did all types of evil things to Jesus. And then said, prophesy. Who hit you? Prophesy. Who smote you? Can we take a loss for the team? I'm closing for real. Can we take a loss for the team? Can we stand and not be messy in the midst of messy situations? Can we stand and seemingly lose the battle through accusation and through physical assault even, and still say, nevertheless, I'm going to continue to drink this cup. Nevertheless, I'm going to continue to focus in on the mission that God has for me. Nevertheless, I'm not going to be stopped right here because God has greater things for our lives. Blessings.